Well, hello again, guys. We're back. It'll be part 2 of alignment, AM/FM alignment. Um, some things have kind of changed a little bit. I'm not using this generator because when I went to, I wanted to show you how to adjust like the oscillator and the RF on this radio. Well, when I went to the upper bands on this, it just flattened out on me. I wasn't getting any output. I got one part of it fixed. There was a cap and the oscillator transistor itself that had went faulty. But after replacing those, it seems that it's still not quite perfect like it should be. So I've got some more work to do on it. So I brought in this guy here, which the only thing I don't like about this, besides the fact I need to get a book for it, is this is your frequency adjust, and it just says 0 to 10, and without markers you have no friggin' idea where you're at on it. Yeah, it drives me nuts. Unlike something like this where you've actually got numbers, frequency numbers on here that you can set, this thing just goes 0 to 10. So anyway, as far as the radio goes, last time when I left off, we had a problem with the gain, and I thought at first it might have been because every time I went down to reach for one of the cables down here and just move it just a little bit, then it'd pop up. And of course we changed the cable and that didn't help matters any. And so anyway, turned out to be, when I started checking it out, that the first thing I did was we was connected right into this area of the circuitry, and I thought, well, that's a good place to start and see if, check voltages. Well, in the process of checking the voltages, I found out that I had literally no B+. So I traced it back. You just start following it back. I ended up getting down here, which is kind of hard to see, but back in there is where the electrolytics were, and still didn't have nothing. Traced it back to the front here to the rectifier. Thought, okay, maybe the diode went out. Well, checked on both sides of the diode and I had nothing. So it turns out that there's a dropping resistor right here, and it had cracked open. Had a hairline crack in it, was burnt a little bit, and the manual calls, or the book, the schematic calls for a 1/2 watt. I thought, well, I'll just put a 1 watt in there. So anyway, once I did that, we were good. We had B+ again. Of course, in the process of checking things, I ran across these two guys, which I had left in originally because they checked good, but I don't know if you can see the corrosion on them. This one actually, when I was messing around, poking around in there, it broke loose. It barely was hanging on left of the copper had corroded all the way through. And then this one here, I figured, well, it's starting to show green signs, so might as well just get it out of there and put in something that isn't corroded. They're just a ceramic tube with a resistor inside, and then they pot them on the end. Evidently not a real good idea. So anyway, the last time I talked about a 49, let's see, what was it, 49909. Well, here's the schematic to it, a Philco 49909. This is the one that you have if you need to adjust the aerial FM, or the aerial on the FM, the oscillator or the RF coils, which are ones here, that's the aerial, this is the RF, and this is your oscillator. If you need to adjust those, then they have to actually be bent. And I'll show you a picture. These are the guys that have to, if they're out, they have to be adjusted. And that was where we was talking about this little deal, where it's got a carbon on one end and a brass piece on the other end. And if you stick them, you stick this into the coil. If it drops, if your signal strength drops with either one of these going into the coil, then you're good. It's good. But if it rises, any one of the coils, then, and I didn't bother to look at it again, I can't remember exactly, but I believe if you stick the carbon in and it rises, the signal goes up, then you squeeze these together. If you stick the brass one in and it rises, then you spread them apart, or vice versa. Like I say, it'd be the instructions when a person does alignment. And when you do that, you want to do it just ever so slightly. You don't want to move it a lot, just a little bit, and then try it again, a little bit, and try it again. Excuse me. The thing is, these very seldom ever will give you any troubles. They should not ever be out. These are not resistors, these are caps. They're ceramic caps that's hooked in there. So unless someone messed with them for whatever reasons, you should never have to worry about them. So I wanted to show that to you. And something else I wanted to show was, I never thought about it, was this string, the line. You want to talk about some that are rather complicated. And it's not, well, it's kind of weird. It's not, it is complicated some, but this is one solid, one length of wire, or string. It basically starts out here, and of course I love GE springs. As far as I know, GE is the only one that used this kind of weird bent spring like this. Anyway, it starts here, comes around, goes down, makes 2.5 loops around the shaft, comes back and goes all the way around. I believe it's, yeah, completely around, then comes out and jumps over to this one, and then comes around. Now someone's restringed this. This is not supposed to just go around the shaft. It's supposed to go around this little point here, but that's fine. But anyway, it goes around that, comes out, comes back around, and then runs down here, goes all the way around, comes through, around the little deal here, comes back out, comes back around, comes up, and comes in and ends at the spring here. And there's the instructions, which are actually pretty good because they actually tell you where to start at with number 1, start here with number 1. They tell you 2, 3, 4, and tell you how many times to turn around. Number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And coming on around, and you get to 11 where you jump up to the other one, come through 12 and 13, 14. Anyway, it continues around until it comes back and lands at the spring. And it's 47.5 inches long. So that's kind of a different. Now, what we're going to do right quick like is I've got the unit hooked up. This is our D-mod. We're hooked in here. We're feeding into the antenna here so that we can make the or show you how to make the adjustments for the oscillator and aerial on this. The low end side of the oscillator here is this one here. This is at 88. You adjust it there. And then this adjustment, see, right here is the other oscillator adjustment, and that's the high end, the 108, towards the high end of the band. And then of course this is the antenna or aerial adjustment here. And basically this is what you get. I've got my pip in here at 108 right now, popping in here. And now the way I did that, see, the nice thing about the leader up here is it does have a bunch of preset markers, but it don't go to 108. It only goes up to 94.5. Now I got the 88 and that's fine, but it does have a place to hook the external marker in. So that's being fed through the cable back down to here and back up to this point here. This generator is feeding that. So that's the pip on here. The other nice thing about the thing I do like about the leader is this little switch right here. It says tilt. Now I'm going to bring you down. It's on vertical, and set you down here and show you what happens when I flip that switch. It goes horizontal, so you can see it better if you're, because right there it's kind of hard to see. Bring this down here a little bit. So that's kind of nice. Now we're gonna do a little bit of touching of this one and see what it does. It doesn't really like it too well. It's a lot lower. And I brought it back to where it was. Now I'm going to move it. On this, how I know where I'm at is on this radio. If you can see those marks and the little pointer, that tells you your frequency marks. And there's little lines there. I don't know if you can see that too well. Maybe I got too much light on it. But that's how you can tell when you don't have a dial on. So I'm going to turn this thing and adjust it to the 88. And which I need the flashlight. Right there. Now you see we got a little different things on there. We'll take our 108 off of here. So we don't need it being in there. And turn it way down. Now I'll bring up the built-in 88 and I'll adjust it until I find it. I do believe, yeah, there's our marker right there. So we got a little adjusting to do. Yeah. Bring the sweep width up so I can bring it in there so I can see where it's at. Okay, now that adjustment is made by this coil right here. So I'm going to do that while you watch the screen and see what we get. Turn the marker down a little bit so it's not jumpy around so much, and we'll flip it horizontally. There it is. And there we be. That's really all there is to adjusting these. Now on this also I did some work on it. I was having troubles when way back when we was showing the little S curve on the discriminator coil, and I was having a heck of a time trying to adjust it because it was pretty much kind of watered out. So, and I knew also the can was loose, and if you shake the can a little bit, it would try to make ground from the can, because the can is the shield, and sometimes it'd break and give you all kinds of mess there. So I just turned the marker down, so watching that pip go nuts. So what I did was I pulled the can out. It's this guy right here, and I've got her kind of a little, about as tight as I can get it. And while I had it out, I've got a whole, well, I've got several of those newer IF cans like these, later model, the small ones like this. I don't have any discriminator ones, but I've got a lot of them that's made by the same company or similar design. I thought I'd just take a slug out of it and put in here, because I got several FM IFs. Well, it has exact same design and everything. These are kind of the slugs in these. They thread into a plastic shell, and they go over top the coil. It's kind of like a cup that threads down over top the coil. And I thought, oh well, great, you know, I can switch it. Well, for some odd reason, even though I've got about a dozen of these, and they were all identical, and the size was the same, it's just the thread was totally different. This has what appears to be a much coarser thread than what those other ones I've got. And I have noticed that when I have lined this thing, and when I did the original alignment, that when I was just in that can down there, the discriminator, you didn't have to move it very much. I mean, it unlike the IFs. The IFs, I could turn quite a little ways to get any response. But so they were a lot finer thread. That's awful coarse thread. So what I ended up doing was making up my own little tool that's a lot wider. I've been trying to use the one on the white one there, and I could only catch the edge of it and it'd slip out. So I came up with this one, and it's a little wider and thicker, and it works better. So anyway, I wanted to be able to adjust it because probably not in this video because we're getting long, but I want to use this and show you how to do that. At this point, I'm going to cut this video off. It's going to be 4 parts because I want to get this guy hooked up on the next run, and we'll do that, and then we'll try to do the last bit of the FM, just showing how, because I mean, as far as the IFs goes, this is no different than this. Here you're trying to get the highest, you know, get it as high as possible and as steep as possible. Here you would be just trying to get the meter, you know, moved over, yeah, if I get you on here, moved over as far as possible, you know, the highest reading. Oh, there was a question about the AGC ABC in here. As long as when you're doing the IF and everything, you keep the signal generator attenuated down real low, you don't normally have to worry about it. And in fact, most of the instructions will always tell you when you're doing, especially IFs, turn down as low as possible so that it doesn't give me any troubles. But if I would need to, I could always supply a negative voltage. This generator has got a place here to put, you know, you can pull out negative voltages here, they're variable. Same way with this one here, there's 2 on here. But generally with radios, it's not really necessary. Just keep your signal way down, as low as possible. So, but I'm going to throw a video in between these two. Between part 2 here and part 3, and in part 3 we'll do that, and hopefully then we can get over here and do this, showing you how to, you know, zero this out and showing you how the S-curve will look on here. And then we'll do a little bit of AM alignment by ear, so you can kind of know what you're looking for that way. So until next time, thanks to my new subscribers, and thanks for the comments out there. I do have a question for one of my viewers, Art. I don't know if I needed to go back and look over your videos, but when you did your Atwater Kent, did you have to paint the tops of the can, you know, the different cans in there, the transformers or stuff? If you did, what paint did you use? What color? And where did you get it? So anyway, so I'm going to try to make another video after I get this one taken care of, and on the Atwater Kent, and show you where I'm at on it. So until next time, thank you for your comments, and to my new subscribers, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.